What's up everyone, my name is Zach and welcome to a brand new ranking video, and this one's going to be a little special today. We're talking Game of Thrones. Never talked Game of Thrones on my channel before, so this is a little new, but we're not talking about episodes or seasons. We're talking about top 5 favorite characters from Game of Thrones. This was a very hard list to make, but I thought for this video, I thought I'd bring a friend over to collab on. How about you introduce yourself?
What's up guys, Casey Knight, aka The Movie Knight. I have a channel on YouTube also doing movie reviews, and I do a weekly Game of Thrones video series, and super pumped to talk some Game of Thrones.
Casey, I'm super happy to finally be doing this. I know you and me have been talking about doing a collab for a very long time, and what's better than to start with Game of Thrones? We got a lot of characters to talk about, but I thought what we'd start off with first, before we even get down to our ranking, is we have a lot of died but not forgotten. These are characters who have died, but we feel like should have gotten a little bit more screen time. We also have unhonorable mentions, which is the characters we love to hate, and we also have honorable mentions for our top 5. So first, I think we'll start off with the characters that died but not forgotten. And do you want to go with yours first?
Sure, yeah. One of my gone too soon, I miss you so much, is Khal Drogo. So Khal Drogo, episode 1, season 1, comes in like a badass. I think there's been so many guys that cosplay as Khal Drogo with their girlfriend as Khaleesi. It's just like, you know, showman's goals to the extreme. And he's also just like a man's man. He's a badass fighter. He's, you know, a strong silent type, but he's also got a sensitive side when it comes to Khaleesi. And he really helped her become a woman, become a leader, and have strength in herself when she'd always played second fiddle to her brother. So I just love that character, and even though his death was sort of necessary for her to become the mother of dragons with the blood magic and all that, I could have done with a whole season of just Khal Drogo fighting in battles and being a badass.
Hey dude, I love that choice. Plus you can't forget, he's played by Jason Momoa, the new Aquaman. And Jason Momoa brings something to each of his roles, and I really like that you picked Khal Drogo. I loved what you said, and you're totally right. Even though he died, and that's the way to further Khaleesi, I thought I could have used some more Khal Drogo on my side too.
Definitely. Aquaman's a big reason why I'm excited about Justice League, honestly. He's been a joke forever, but we get a new rock and roll Jason Momoa Aquaman. I am all in, baby. Like, let's go.
Absolutely. Any other ones you got to name?
Yeah, so my other gone but not forgotten was Oberyn Martell, the Red Viper of Dorne. I mean, just such an amazing, nuanced character. He's a lover, he's a fighter, he likes guys and girls, he's so complicated. He comes from a really interesting place. He's our first look at Dorne, and arguably the best character from Dorne by about 10 miles. So yeah, he's great. He goes and studies in the Citadel, he goes to Essos, he learns different fighting styles, he learns poisons. I mean, this guy is like an encyclopedia of everything it takes to be a complete awesome human being in Westeros. And to watch him get, you know, crushed by the mountain so easily after all he wanted was vengeance for his sister who he loved so dearly was so heartbreaking, and I miss him.
No, dude, totally agree. He's also on my list, and Oberyn is just one of those characters that I was so fascinated with, just with his lore in the back. And yeah, totally agree. Dorne, I like Dorne, and I think it was mostly because of him. Other actors and actresses there I haven't been totally engaged with, but him specifically, just the way he was fighting too against the mountain was awesome. And I remember I thought he had beaten the mountain, and I was shocked to have seen that he died. I remember I blinked and all of a sudden he was dead, and I was like, holy shit, I can't believe he just fucking died. But Oberyn, really, he great character. What else can I say? And plus he's played greatly by Pedro Pascal, and I know he's showing up in Kingsman 2, which is another reason to get me a little excited about Kingsman 2. Got a little throw that in there, but Oberyn, great choice. Me, I had another choice on there, and that was Ygritte, Jon Snow's lover from the Wildlings. I loved her. I loved her character. I know we got a lot of her, and it was necessary for her to die, but still, I could have just used a little bit more of her. I thought Jon Snow, he's always had all this bad stuff going for him, and he finally had something good going for him, and then just dies. And I would have liked to see more of her. I think it furthered his character development in a good way as well, but I could have loved to have seen a little bit more of her. Plus, I love the actress that plays her, so what can I say?
See, Jon Snow loves her because they're together in real life now, apparently, or have been the whole time since they met on set. But yeah, she's a great character. I mean, she's also one of these amazing female characters in Game of Thrones that transcends like what it is to be like a traditional female role and is her own person. She's a warrior, she's a badass, she chooses her own man. She doesn't have to be with the only man she's ever been with. She can bounce around and pick. She's like, you know, 21st century society girl because she's, you know, of the wildlings and they don't bow they don't kneel, and they've got their own rules, and she's super cool, and she really brings out the man in Jon Snow.
Totally, I can't say any more about that. Plus, I don't know if you play video games, but I played this game called Horizon Zero Dawn, and she would be the perfect spot to play the main girl. If you look her up, she looks exactly like her.
Yeah, I've seen trailers for that game. Yeah, I totally agree.
Going on from there, we got some love to hate characters. These are characters we love so much, but we should also despise them. They're this unhonorable mentions for them. Who do you have on your list?
But number one has to be one of the most complex and interesting characters from season 1, episode 1 till now. There's so many theories about this character, about how she might die, and all prophecies that surround her and that have kind of guided her through life. It's Cersei Lannister for me. I mean, Cersei Lannister is so amazing, and her story arc as a character is so interesting because you hate the shit out of her, and the only thing in the world that could make you kind of like her and root for her is those awful fucking sparrows. Like, you go from this brother fucking awful woman who would do anything and kill anyone and doesn't even really care that much when her children die after the first one dies, and it's like right in front of her. And I don't know, like, all of her humanity just seeps away, and when she gets revenge on the sparrows, it's like this big emotional high, and you're like, wait, why am I rooting for her? She just has so many layers to her, and obviously the actress Lena Headey is just tremendous in the subtlety of her expressions and the way she brings like a real gravitas to that role as a veteran actress.
Yeah, I see you throwing that gravitas out there. I'll totally gravitas with her, dude. She's a phenomenal actress, and the way she portrays it, the whole shaming thing, just everything from her since we've seen her since season 1, I totally agree. She's one of those characters that you don't know what's going on behind her eyes, but at the same time you do, and you root for her because she's been through a lot of shit. I mean, all of her kids are dead at this point, and you understand where she's from, and I love that about the character in general. I mean, Cersei Lannister, there's so many theories, you're like, right? I had one friend tell me, like, what if she dies and she becomes a White Walker and all this stuff, and that just opened up a bunch of other theories for me. So, I mean, Cersei has a bunch of, there's so much between that character that I really love her, and that was a great choice of yours. Is one that's kind of just started popping up through the seasons, and that's Euron. Euron Greyjoy. I really was, for me, when I saw him last season, I was a little like, wow, who's this new guy? And then this new season, a little bit spoilers, he shows up, his little rock star outfit, Rolling Stones badass, like he's going on a first date. Casey was just telling me that's what he looked like, and I couldn't agree more. He shows up, and I'm kind of like, what is about this character? Is he meant to be fierce? And then the end of the episode 2 of season 7 happens, and man, I'm telling you, he's very scary and very intense and knows what the fuck he's doing. And I kind of like his character just for that weirdness and craziness that he has, because I don't think we have seen that in a while in Game of Thrones, so it's kind of new for me, and I like seeing that.
Totally. Yeah, Euron is a real wild card character. I mean, in the books, he is literally so despicable. He does, like, he impregnates girls and then straps them to the front of their of his boat, like, naked and stuff, and he ties up his brother and leaves him in the bows of his ship to rot in like seawater. He basically talks about how he like sexually abused his brothers and stuff growing up. I mean, he is the apex of despicable, and in the show he kind of comes off as just like kind of a cocky dude at first, and you don't really know how to read this guy, but he has a lot of layers. He's being charming in a way that the Ironborn would respect during the King's Moot so he could get the crown. Then he's being charming the way Cersei wants to be, wooed and saying how she's so beautiful, and then, kind of giving Jimmy a few jabs because he knows what's up with them. He's not stupid. And then as soon as it's time to put an axe in the guy's hand, he goes straight up Wolverine Berserker mode, and he's scary as fucking hell. He has so many aspects to his character that you have to really worry about this guy because he can play the game on every level.
I can't agree more. But yeah, crazy motherfucker. That's what we can say about him. And yep. But who else you got on your list?
Oh, I had to put my boy Littlefinger on there because Littlefinger is so slimy. He makes your skin crawl, but you gotta give the guy respect. He came from a small house. He just happened to like be shipped off to be raised with the Tullys. He fell for one girl, the other girl liked him. He's in this weird, fucked up love triangle, and he just spins everything he has in a positive direction. He gets all these super strong alliances. He becomes the Lord of Harrenhal. He's this close to being the Lord or the Warden of the North. If only Jon Snow hadn't come back to life, and if he could have just married Sansa. I mean, he rose from nothing to one of the top 5 most powerful people in Westeros, and he did it all without being able to swing a sword or shoot a bow or any of the traditional things that make a man in Westeros. And so I gotta commend him for all the things he's accomplished despite his literal and mental shortcomings.
Yes, Littlefinger. Absolutely agree. I mean, he rose from nothing to here, and he's just one of those guys that's always behind the shadows and always hiding and stuff, and it's just, you don't know what he's always up to, and when he shows up, some shit goes down, and that's what I really have always liked Littlefinger. Peter Baelish, just awesome. I've always loved the character a lot, but for me, I also have another honorable mention, and that's gonna be Ramsay. He's dead, I know, but Ramsay was just, the actor portrayed him so damn well, making him so despicable, so evil, but you kind of liked seeing him on the screen, even though he's such an asshole. Just the way he was in the whole Battle of the Bastards sequence. Yes, he was a pussy in that sequence. We can all say that. He was a pussy. He sat back just shooting some arrows and then he ran away. But man, it was just his hounds, everything about him. He's a despicable character, but he's a character that I don't necessarily miss, but I liked seeing on screen at the time because the actor gave such a charismatic but crazy side to him. And I think that's why I really like Euron as well, because he's bringing that crazy side back.
Ramsay is such a great step up from Joffrey. Joffrey is a wimpy kid who has everyone do things for him. Yeah, totally. And he never lifted a finger to really do anything himself. I mean, he didn't even like abuse prostitutes. He made them do it. Like, he's just such a little bitch. But Ramsay at least has the wherewithal to be a man about it and go out and literally fight. I mean, that scene when Yara tries to rescue Theon and he's sitting there all shirtless with like daggers and blood because he's just like going double daggers on people. I mean, he's scary. And the thing is, he has such a strong stomach and for intolerance for torture, and he just loves it. I mean, he's literally also like a psychopath. Like Joffrey was a sociopath. He couldn't pretend to be normal. Ramsay could pretend to be normal around people. That's why Littlefinger apparently didn't know he was so fucked up when he dropped off Sansa. He was able to like fake it out. But as soon as the door slammed and he's alone with someone, all bets are off, and you cannot trust him. I mean, he's just as mean to the people that are loyal to him as the people that he's against, and it's terrifying.
You can't say anymore. You said everything that I would have said that too. But yeah, he's a fucking psychopath. But let's move on. We're going to our honorable mentions before we get to our top 5. We're just going to list these really fast. So, do you want to say yours really fast? Just say both your honorable mentions, because I know you got 3.
Yeah. So one of them's Tormund Giantsbane. I love Tormund. He's hilarious. He's a badass. He's a great sidekick to Jon because Jon's so stoic and he's so lighthearted and silly. And then I have Bronn, who also brings a lighter tone but is also a badass. I love guys that can be funny and intimidating at the same time, and he's a great counterpart to Jaime as well as Tyrion through most of the show. I mean, yeah, no one doesn't like Bronn. Plus, he's a good singer, and he gets, titties shown at him because he's such a good singer. So, and then my third one is Jaime, because obviously similar to Cersei, but way better. He didn't like get good and then go bad again. He's got a lot of levels to why he is the way he is, but you can slowly see the good in him coming out, and him meeting Brienne, I think, really helped bring out him seeing someone who was the knight he was supposed to be, but never really could because other things got in the way. And he's had to go through a lot of trials and tribulations, but his character is better for it.
Dude, I agree. I mean, Bronn, awesome. Love Bronn. He's one of my favorite characters in there. His back and forth with Tyrion, his back and forth with Jaime, awesome. And then also, Jaime, dude, when I saw him, I hated his character through the first few seasons. But once he got with Brienne, I loved him. But that steps to my honorable mentions. And that's one of my honorable mentions is Brienne. I've always thought she's just this big-ass badass. And when her and the Hound were fighting, I was like, on the edge of my seat, so scared, because I knew one of them was going to die, or one of them was going to lose in that sequence, and it was such great action sequence there. And I mean, Bran played brilliantly by Gwendolyn Christie. I would say the last few seasons she hasn't had much to do, which is a little disappointing, but I'm hoping by the end of the show that we will get a little bit more from her character, because I think she deserves that as an actress and as the character. But some other characters I also have is Sam and Jorah. Sam and Jorah, obviously from the last episode, we can all see why we appreciate them so much, because Sam, he's your best friend. He's going to help you out. He's going to, when you got a disease happening all over you, he's going to peel it off. If he's trying to help Jon Snow, he's going to send some help to Jon Snow. Sam's always got your back. He's one of those characters I saw and I was like, really? Just this fat guy who's just trying to be this, I don't know what to think of him. And then he turns into this awesome character that every time he shows up on the screen, I can't agree more to see. Plus, fuck Sam's family. His family's a piece of shit, if I can't say any more. And then Jorah, of course, he loves Khaleesi so much, and just the dedication he has behind Khaleesi is awesome, and I can't wait to see their reunion. We know they're going to have a reunion, or else they wouldn't have kept Jorah alive and showed him. And that's my thing about Game of Thrones. When they keep a character alive, there's always something special behind him.
I love Jorah too. I mean, Jorah is the kind of character who is loyal to a fault, to where it gets him to be disloyal to other people. He's loyal to his house, but then he's also loyal to his wife, but she wants all this rich stuff, so he sells people into slavery, gets exiled. He still wants to get home because he's loyal to his house and to Westeros, so he's spying on Daenerys, but then he falls in love with Daenerys and sees that she should really be in charge of Westeros, and then betrays that loyalty for a different loyalty. I mean, he does the things you would do if you were always following your heart, and he's persecuted for it constantly. So you see that he is a good man with good morals. He's just had kind of a string of bad luck.
Then let's get to our top 5.
Woo!
So, we'll start with this. I'll go first. I'll start with my top 5. So my top 5, it's going to be coming down. And this one, honestly, if it was a couple seasons ago and we were starting maybe season 4, he probably would have been a little bit higher, but that's going to be Tyrion. Played brilliantly by Peter Dinklage. I love the character of Tyrion. He's always been this sarcastic, just little imp, if I might say so myself, but he's always just been great. In the Battle of Blackwater, he was phenomenal, and I've just always loved the actor himself. And Tyrion was one of the main focuses which got me through the first season of Game of Thrones, which I love the first season, but I will say it's probably the weakest out of all of them. And Tyrion, for me, was the one character that really had me grip on first, and it was the first character that I actually truly cared about for Game of Thrones. And I've just, his storyline from when he kills his father to the trials with Joffrey just was awesome to see, and I really want to see where his character goes. I just feel like the last 2 seasons, he's kind of been pushed to the back of obviously being Khaleesi's hand, and I love that, don't get me wrong, but I want to see more of him, and I know by the end of the season, there's a lot of theories with his character that we don't know what's true or what's right, but I think we'll figure out by the end of the show what the theories were right and which theories were wrong. Oh, what's your number 5?
Number 5 is Olenna Tyrell, the Queen of Thorns. Out of all the women in Westeros, I had to pick her because she is so strong-willed. She just speaks her mind, and all the other strong female characters respect the shit out of her. And she calls people out on their shit. She doesn't let anyone intimidate her. She doesn't, play second fiddle to anybody. And she also has this kind of like sweet side to her where she wants to be nice to people who are nice, but as soon as she realizes that they're playing the Game of Thrones a little foolishly or a little bit too naive, then she kind of gives them some harsh criticism when it's necessary, especially with like Sansa and with Marjorie. So I really like her character, and I just always feel like when you cast a really awesome veteran actor like Diana Rigg, she just brings so much to it. It's like she's just chewing the scenery in every scene she's in, and no matter who's in the room, especially like the last episode, you had Tyrion, you had Daenerys, you had the Greyjoys, you had Missandei, you had Varys, all these amazing characters, and whenever Olenna talks, everyone shuts up, like out of respect. Like, she demands respect.
It was awesome in the last episode. I loved what she said to Khaleesi, too, so I can't forget to mention that. She's awesome. Every time she says something, it's important. But what's your number 4, man? Let's send you off. You're going to start our number 4.
Number 4 is Arya, because I love Arya. I think that she's going off the deep end a little bit lately, but she's a great character. I mean, she's another female character who defies, what it is to be a female character. She from the very get-go, she has that wild wolf's blood that they talk about, that like Ned's older brother Brandon had and that Lyanna had, and she very much mirrors her Aunt Lyanna. So I feel like everything she goes through, I mean, she probably goes through, it's hard to say because a lot of characters go through a lot of shit, but she goes through a lot of shit, a lot of different places, a lot of different challenges for her, and she's also the youngest going through all this. So I feel like where she ends up will be very different from where she started, almost more so than any other character. And it's been really fun watching her evolve and train and obviously use every tool in her disposal now to vanquish her enemies. And it's just so satisfying.
Dude, I can't say anymore. I mean, Arya is phenomenal. I liked every storyline she's gone through, and played by Maisie Williams. I mean, what can I say? She's such a phenomenal young actress that I love seeing her on the screen. But with my number 4, so this is one that it honestly could change with seeing how the season goes, because I feel like there's a lot to go with to this character, and that's the Hound. I love the Hound, and when he died a couple seasons ago, I totally said he did not die. They didn't show him die. I don't believe he's dead. I feel like there's more to his character, and when he showed back up last season, I freaked out. I think that was one of my best moments of the season, and for me, this is my thing. You bring back the Hound, there's a reason you're bringing him back. There's a lot of theories with him too, just like every other character, but I think some of these theories are actually true and will probably end up happening, just for the fact that there's something special about his character that if you're bringing him back, you didn't need to. We didn't need to see the Hound. But there's a reason and something that they're leading up to that I can't wait to see what they bring out here, especially with the gang that he's in right now. I really can't wait to see. Plus, the Hound, he's just his language. He loves saying cunt. And I just like that. I don't like the word that much, but when he says it, it's he makes up for just his cussing, his language, his action, just how he is. He's a complete badass that you just love to see on the screen.
Totally. That actually brings me to my number 3, which is the Hound, because I love the Hound also a lot. I feel like the Hound is so many things to the story. He's kind of a protector of both of the Stark girls in different parts of their stories. And what I really love is when Sansa is young, she thinks of like a knight, and she thinks of like a beautiful, golden hair. She thinks more like a Jaime Lannister type guy. But then when she finds the Hound, she thinks he's repulsive, doesn't understand why he's a knight, nothing like the storybooks. But when you really juxtapose them, he's more of the true noble knight than Jaime is. And then his story, he kind of loses a bit of that because he renounces his knightship and stuff and says fuck the king, and which is awesome. And he's got such a huge weakness with the fire, which just gives more story to him and why he hates fires, obviously because his brother burned him when he's a kid. So he hates fire and he hates his brother. But to everyone else, he's pretty much a nice guy. I mean, he is kind of gruff, but he's like that angry old uncle that might call you a cunt, or make fun of your top knot because you're a bald idiot. But then, later on, who else would you rather have a beer with? Nobody. The Hound's awesome. And he's gonna have some really interesting end game stuff. I really hope we get Clegane Bowl, him versus the Mountain. It won't really be the Mountain, but if he can kill the Mountain, that would be such a great, like, full circle thing. Even if he dies doing it, like, someone needs to kill that fucker. And besides a dragon or the Hound, I don't know who could do it.
You know what? I would love to see Arya meet back up with him, and then Arya's obviously, I really like to see Arya kill the Queen, but I feel like the Hound, out of anyone that's going to take out the Mountain, totally true, the Hound is going to, I don't see anyone else taking the Mountain out. I only see the Hound taking him out. But awesome, dude. I love your number 3. Now let's flip to my number 3, which is going to be Arya, which was your number 4. And I love Arya. She's just, her storyline that she's gone through. I think this is a little higher just because of the opening for Season 7. I loved how she took out all the Freys. She shows, because Season 6, I thought her storyline was a little too slow, and I thought they could have paced it a little bit better. But I have to say, the lead up to what happens after Season 6 and how she has that power now. She can be anyone. And it's so cool to see that and see her actually put it into context and take out Walder Frey and the Freys. Just a great opening. I think that's why I have her placed a little bit higher than you do, but awesome. I love Arya so much.
Arya is basically taking up a lot of the stuff that Lady Stoneheart does in the books, killing off all the Freys and the Riverlands, getting revenge for the Red Wedding. But man, the way she does it and using those powers like that is just so freaking satisfying watching her just murder all these shitheads that we've hated the entire show, basically.
Oh, and I cannot wait to see like where she goes with the rest, because that's gonna come in the end game. You know it will. But let's move on to my number 2, which is another Stark, the bastard of the Stark. I guess he's not really part of the Stark family. He is and he isn't. He's a Targaryen, but no one really knows that but Bran. So let's talk about it. It's Jon Snow. I love Jon Snow. Little moody sometimes. That's all right. I like where they're going with his character right now, where he's gonna go meet Khaleesi, the big mother of dragons. It's fucking awesome. Jon Snow's always been this gruff, and phenomenally, one of my favorite episodes of Game of Thrones is Battle of the Bastards, and just seeing him in that episode, him taking down Ramsay, him defeating it against all odds. He is a phenomenal leader too, and just how he led the knights, how he led the watch is just awesome. I just loved everything about that. How he brought together the wildlings was great. I've always loved Kit Harington's role as Jon Snow, and I remember when he died, again, I didn't believe it, because I said there's more to this character. I never believed he was a Stark, a full Stark. I believed that this guy was a Targaryen, and I was great to see it. And honestly, my one theory is I want to see him ride a fucking dragon. Please, please, please ride a fucking dragon. At one point, I just want to see him ride a dragon.
Quick about Jon Snow. I don't have him on my list because he is a little bit brooding and stuff sometimes, and sometimes his character takes kind of a backseat to his storyline because he's part of so many epic parts of the series. But I do love a lot about his character. I think that it'll be really satisfying to see him react and realize his true parentage and figure out that he's been a bastard his whole life. And so it's like if you could have a king who was raised to be like thinking he's a nobody that everyone despises and spits at, that's Jon Snow. I mean, he has the heart of an orphan basically, but a warrior's skill set because he was raised in a castle and he's one of the best fighters in Westeros. But then he's also basically the rightful king as Rhaegar's son. So I mean, he is the song of ice and fire, Stark and Targaryen. If he's not Azor Ahai and he's not, if he doesn't have a flaming sword and he's not killing the Night King, I'll be very surprised. But I love him, and I think he's got a lot coming forward. I think a lot of what's happened so far, as epic as it has been, it's been kind of build up. So, but my number 2 is Tyrion. So I have him a little higher on my list because, I mean, he's George R. R. Martin's favorite character for a reason. He gives him all the best lines. He gives him all the best jokes. He's from the start, he's really the only super charismatic character. And I agree that in the last season and a half or so, he's been kind of playing second fiddle. But it's hard when you put any character next to Daenerys and all the epic shit she's been doing. They kind of have to play second fiddle. He can't be doing all the things. And he is best in Westeros, scheming, playing the game. He might be the best at playing the game, maybe besides Littlefinger. Littlefinger's pretty good. But I love Tyrion. I mean, he's got the heart of a lion. He's really more Tywin's son than any other Stark or Lannister, and which is ironic because he's the most despised by his father. He's got all these father issues, and I don't know, you can just see so much of yourself in him because everyone's felt chastised in their life, or like they weren't good enough for their father or for what their place in life is. And he's just always working extra hard to prove himself, making himself smarter and more valuable. And that's why he's on Daenerys' team. That's why he's Hand of the Queen right now.
Him there, I mean, Peter Dinklage, what can the guy do wrong? He's so fucking good. Even in these shitty movies he always brings charisma. And that's what he did with Game of Thrones. He brought charisma to what could be a brooding show at times, which is sometimes really hard to watch and kind of depressing to watch too, because a lot of your favorite characters die. But yeah, totally, dude, you said a lot about Tyrion that I didn't get to say, and I love it because you brought a lot of things back to my head. And Tyrion, really, he's one of those special characters. And I do want to mention something to you really fast. There's a theory going around that he's not really a Lannister. Do you believe that, or do you think he's a full Lannister?
It's a really interesting theory with a lot backing it because the Mad King had a thing for Joanna Lannister, Tywin's wife, which is part of the reason he started disliking the Mad King and wanted to leave. And on their wedding night, it was said that the Mad King kind of made a joke saying that, like, oh, it used to be the rule that the king got to have the first night with the bride. I wish it was still the rule, huh? And he's like joking about it, and Tywin gets word of that, gets pissed off. So there's a theory that maybe Tyrion's the Mad King's son, and that he'll be the third dragon rider, obviously with Daenerys and Jon being the first two. The dragon has 3 heads, all that. I think there's a lot of evidence behind it, and it would make sense because it's another mom who died in childbirth, birthing a Targaryen, just like Daenerys, just like Jon Snow. All their moms died in childbirth. It'd be a really interesting amount of symmetry there. So
True. I did not even just think of that. So
the thing that would make that not work is that if Jon finds out he's a Targaryen and then we find out Tyrion, it's like then it'll just feel like it's not as special. I think that's the only thing I have against it.
that's true. I mean, maybe if they show one this season, one next season, I think Game of Thrones. I trust the showrunners with it, so I'm not totally worried about it. But I understand your worry on that.
Plus, Tyrion had that moment with the dragon. He had the moment with the dragon where it didn't kill him. So that's more evidence that he might be a Targaryen.
But do you want to say your number one first?
Right, so my number one might come as a shock to some people because it is not one of the biggest characters, but it is Sir Davos Seaworth, the Onion Knight. I love Davos so much. I mean, what character has come from so little to so much and kept everything about who he was before? He got his fingers lopped off by Stannis, and instead of brooding about her, being like, hey, I saved your life and brought you food when you were starving, no, he wore it around his neck like a badge of honor. And he just, I don't know, there's something about the way he counsels people. He is as honest as he needs to be all the time. Even if it gets him thrown in a freaking cell, he doesn't care. He's gonna say what he needs to say, and he's always there for everybody. He's always trying to do the right thing. Personally, I really hope he gets to kill the Red Woman, because no one alive has more cause to do so after what she did to Shireen. I mean, at the end of the day, if there's one character in Westeros that I wish was my dad, it'd be Davos Seaworth. He's just such a great guy.
Dude, Dude, I can't say. I mean, you're right. I love Davos too. He's not on my list, but he's one of those characters that you got the Hound as this great uncle you'd like to have, but Davos is a good dad. He has a great voice too. He gives you some motivation, and he's fun. He has some great tips on everything, and I love seeing Davos when he pops up on the screen. He eats away the scenery as well, and just a great choice in there. But let's see, my number one, it's gonna be kind of an obvious one, and it's just because I've loved her story arc throughout everything, and that is Khaleesi, the Mother of Dragons. I loved her character. I remember when I first saw her, I didn't know what to think about her, and then just every season she impresses me more and more. That's why I don't think she's gonna end up on the throne, just because I think she's been handed so much and being able to get away with a lot and just survive. And she has 3 fucking dragons. 3 dragons. That is OP as fuck. I love Khaleesi though. I loved everything she's gone through. I think all of her storyline and all of her story arcs have always been phenomenal, and just the way they go through and just how they keep continuing. I just love where her story has gone, and I'm like I said, I'm really worried heading into these last few episodes, just for the fact of I don't think she's gonna survive, and I don't want to see that happen because she's come so far. But she's a Targaryen, and I love her. And plus, her arrival in the first episode of this last season was just great. You could totally tell in her eyes that she's been there before, she misses it, and it's just like coming home. And it was a great entranceway into this. And she knows who she is. She knows she's powerful, and she knows Cersei's scared of her. Who else would be scared of a girl with 3 dragons? She's going to come into a big power play into these next few episodes, and I'm going to be really happy to see where she comes.
I mean, Daenerys is one of the top 5 most important characters in the entire show for a reason, and I mean, she is as much an Azor Ahai character as Jon Snow is, if not more. She's born from salt and smoke. She brought back dragons from stone and to life. I mean, she fulfills the prophecy on so many levels, basically every level. And it's also been super interesting seeing her go from a scared child marrying this giant ogre of a man, and then training him to love her the way she wanted to be loved. Like, she had to learn so much about being a woman, being an adult, being the mother of dragons, which is unprecedented, being a ruler, and her character has to go through so many things, because every time she gets really powerful, she gets humbled. Every time she thinks, oh, I have dragons, so everything should be handed to me, she goes to Karth, no one wants to help her. Then she goes to Slaver's Bay, and she's like, I'm going to liberate everybody. We don't want to be liberated. Or, hey, fuck you, leave. Or, hey, the city you just saved, it's already fucked up again. The city you're currently occupying, half the people hate you, and they're wearing gold masks and killing your guys. And then now with, the, spoiler alert, the Greyjoy fleet being decimated and several of her alliance members being taken. I mean, whenever she starts to get built up to where you think, how could anyone take her down, she gets humbled really quick. So I think there'll be more of that. I think she'll lose at least 1, maybe 2, or all dragons. by the end of it, and maybe her life. But I think if she does die, just like if Jon Snow dies, it'll be a hero's death. It'll be the last breath of winter, them saving the world, and their deaths will be super, super justified in that they were Lightbringer, the bringer of dawn. They saved the world. That's the only way they could go out and have it be satisfying.
You see, I love her to death, but you said a lot of stuff. She's very humble, and I mean, you can tell when she gets a little, I'm all that, some bad shit starts happening. I mean, here, you tell her, send a note to Jon Snow and tell him bend the knee when he comes. Then what happens next? Her fleet gets destroyed, and Yara and Theon, like, that's what I mean, is that like, she literally just lost 2 power players. Theon pissed me off a little bit, but she lost Yara, and she lost a lot. Yeah, she lost a lot. And, I mean, now this is going to change. Jon Snow ain't going to bend the knee. We all fucking know that. He doesn't even want to go, really. He's just going because he knows she has dragons. Fire helps defeat White Walkers, so...
I mean... Yeah, I mean, it might be sort of history repeating itself with the king that knelt, Torrhen Stark, when the dragons came, because they had already burned all of the Lannister and Gardner, which were like the Tyrells at the time, forces in the Field of Fire. So Torrhen Stark was the only king that knelt, and he was known that way as like sort of a term of, you know, like hatred or whatever. But because he knelt, not one Northerner sword was added to the Iron Throne. So, you know, is it a win or a loss? And at this point, I think he saw Mance Rayder die, and it didn't really help his people anymore. So I think he would probably not be as prideful, and he'd probably bend the knee if it meant she would help them stop the White Walkers with her dragons and the Dragonglass. I think he'll do whatever's necessary because he's a bastard. He doesn't have that much pride. He's stubborn, but he's not prideful.
True, I agree. Yeah, I can see what you're talking about. But guys, that is our ranking of our 5 favorite Game of Thrones characters. Now, I know everyone's probably like, where's this character? Where's this character? This was a very hard list to make. Casey can say the same thing. This took us a couple of days to finally just put aside, but I totally think that like even by the end of the show, this list will probably end up changing because different power players, different things could come into play, and you never know what's going to be introduced in the Game of Thrones. But other than that, guys, down in the comments down below, and please tell me what your guys' favorite characters were, who are your honorable mentions, what characters you wish stayed alive longer, and who are some characters you love to hate. Also, make sure to go subscribe to Casey. Casey, tell them where they can find you.
Movie Night 88 on Twitter. Follow me there. I post all my stuff there, as well as on YouTube, obviously, at my Movie Night channel. And I do movie reviews every week. I'm going to be doing recap shows for Game of Thrones throughout the season, as well as I've got a few very interesting, in-depth theory videos going forward about maybe the death of some major characters, how I think it might happen, and I put a lot of thought into them, so those are going to be coming out soon as well, so keep an eye out for those.
Really, guys, like if you guys are big Game of Thrones fans, go check his channel. I will put his link down below, but really go check him out. I love his recap shows. They're on par for me as with Collider, and hearing Ken Knapsack and them all talk. He's really good, knowledgeable for Game of Thrones. So if you have people who are like, oh, these people don't know shit about Game of Thrones, I've seen it in the comments of Collider, so don't fucking tell me you don't. He's really good, and you guys should really go check him out. He gives some great insight for all that. And really, guys, if you're a big Game of Thrones fan, you're gonna love his channel. I can't wait to see those theories, dude. I really love theories for Game of Thrones because they're kind of addicting to read and even make up your own. So I'm really gonna be excited to see those videos. And thank you so much, dude, for collabing with me. This was a lot of fun. I can't wait to do it again.
Oh, super fun. We got to do another one on my channel later on, maybe at the end of the season, with some of our like top 10 most shocking moments or something like that.
Dude, can't wait to do it. You guys heard it first. Collab coming for another Game of Thrones. Can't wait to talk about it, guys. But thank you guys so much for watching. If you like this and you want to see more, make sure to like and subscribe. Make sure to go like and subscribe to him as well. You'll love Game of Thrones. You love this channel. You love his channel. Tons of movie reviews coming out. Just look out for them in the coming weeks, in the coming days. Can't wait to guys. Thank you guys so much for watching. Enjoy the rest of your guys' day.